I want to talk about today's the chief evangelist in a lean startup. One thing, I made a post actually in the group about titles, and I always say this: titles are for the outside looking in. What it means is for the folks that are looking at you, you may need titles, to define who you are. But in a lean startup, I would argue that there are no titles. There's only basically two roles. You're either on the development team, or you're on the business team. That's it. And actually, I should say there's advisor. Okay, advisors are those that are on neither. They may advise on the biz, they may advise on the dev, but they're purely there as kind of give the organization some insight and some direction. That's it. And ultimately, at some point, you want to have you have advisors there because at some point you're like, hey, these are guys who could open the door to funding. So you want them to see what it is that you're doing in order for them to help in that direction. So that's pretty much it. Now, as the chief evangelist, and why do I like chief evangelist? Because, like I wrote today, it's like, unless you are as committed to this idea of yours as Jesus was to Christianity, or Mohammed to Islam, you're wasting your time. Because if you're not as committed as as some evangelical preacher, we're going to school, buddy, then ultimately, I believe you're probably going to fail because you're not going to have the stomach. What, buddy? I'm talking about starting a startup and what to call yourself. Like, I'm Dada. So I'm talking about you call yourself a chief evangelist. Ultimately, the people who run the lean startup are directors. They're setting the direction. And ultimately, what you're looking for out of your team is to promote directors. Now, ultimately, as the chief evangelist, you're the primary director. You're the chief evangelist and you're director. And say, hey, so from your followers, just like Jesus, I'm going to use biblical thing, or Mohammed, or anyone. I mean, you look at Plato, or Tommy's talking too. So ultimately, from your followers, you're going to the ones that believe in they're really ones that believe and buy into your evangelicalizing. Those are the folks that you're going to make your directors, and they're going to be your co-founders, because ultimately you can't do anything, you can't accomplish anything unless you have those folks there. So in my view, you might as well give away company ownership. And I'll talk about company ownership and how much and so on at a later date, at another. Whoa. Yeah, gourmet. Abinai means be careful, Dada. Yeah, that was a construction area, and the guy stopped all of a sudden after going through a red light. That's right. So a chief evangelist is really someone there that 100% believes in what you're doing, has no doubt. Your job is to assemble the team or find other people, and that's the toughest thing, especially in a lean startup. And what we've done with Startup Dev, I think, is trying to make that easier by allowing folks with similar interests to come together, see what other people are doing, kind of like shop around, and in a way like window shop, meet them, and then kind of discuss with them, what it is they're doing and whether they'd be interested in jumping on. So to me, it's pretty straightforward. As, and really, as a chief evangelist, that's what you're doing, you know. And then ultimately, as a director, you're directing the course. That's it. Now, in adding to that, let me talk about CEO. You know, I took away my title CEO because I realized I just hate calling myself a CEO because, one, it's pretentious, and I believe that really until someone comes and gives you $1 million and says do it, and says I want you to run it and be that role, then ultimately you're not a CEO. I mean, you're just, you know, anyone can give themselves, it's like, I'm a Messiah. I might as well call myself Messiah. I'm the Son of God. Yeah, I think people look at you kind of funny. Well, you're not, you know, you want to be a CEO. You're looking for, I think a CEO comes with investment, with angels showing their support of you and your vision and what you're doing by giving you money. So until that time, I think it's better just to call yourself a chief evangelist. Or something else, you know. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I'm talking about startups. That's right. Startups. There's my son in the back. Startup is a new company. Yeah, Daddy has a startup. And a startup means starting something, like when we start our dinner, or like when we start cooking. It's like starting something. So start up is to start up something. It could be anything. Anything at all. A lean startup is when you start up something and you got no money. Yeah, no money. You just have the idea, no, and you want money, but you don't have any. Yeah, just the idea, the thought. Yeah, that's it. When you go, that's good. That's an idea. A monster's in your head. That's an idea too. You think, oh, maybe there's a monster. Like this morning, you thought there was a monster out there. Yeah. So a monster is an idea too. They're not real. Ideas aren't real. So your lean startup isn't real until you have made something. So the goal in a lean startup is to make something together with other people. You know, you want to make yourself a nice chocolate cake. Yeah, but you need someone to make the icing, and you need someone to get the chocolate, and you need someone to help bake the cake. You have the idea of a very tasty cake. Poo-poo. If you poo-poo, you get chocolate cake. Okay. So, that's a startup. Really simple. Yeah, he's speaking Japanese. Look at his Japanese, it's so good.